Mic technique is invisible until it's not, because we all know how apparent bad mic technique can be. You know what it sounds like when someone's talking too close, or there's feedback, or there's a lot of noise, because you are more focused on those things and not on what they are saying. Good microphone technique means that no one is even going to think about the fact that you're using a microphone, because they're just going to be listening to you. So today, I'm going to show you what to do, what not to do, and how to sound more polished immediately. And hey, stick around to the end, because I'll also show you 4 ways you can practice better mic technique so the next recording session you have sounds extra crisp. Hi there, my name is Amy. I'm a more than 15-year veteran of the voice acting industry, an Emmy-nominated television broadcaster, and this channel really aims to help voice actors and speaking professionals of all kinds unlock their performance potential. So before we get to the most common mic mistakes that people make, I want to just first talk to you about why it matters. If you don't know how to use a microphone properly, no one's going to hear your voice the way that you want them to. Bad mic technique can absolutely kill your sound and your credibility. Think of your microphone as a translator between you and your listener. Sloppy technique on the microphone is going to distort your message both literally and figuratively. Great mic technique means you've got clear sound, consistent volume, less editing for you in post-production, and more of a connection with your audience or your client. And this applies whether you're doing any kind of voiceover, you're doing a podcast recording, or you're on stage giving a TED Talk. So what are the biggest mistakes I see beginners, and honestly even seasoned pros, make? Too close to the mic. This creates distortion, plosives, and it sounds like you're eating the microphone. Too far away, you sound distant, and noise from elsewhere in your environment starts to creep in. Inconsistent distance, and not even doing that, just leaning in and out and moving around creates volume roller coasters. Fourthly, moving around too much creates all sorts of other noise that just gets in the way, whether it's your clothing rustling or your jewelry making some sort of noise, or even just your chair creaking or your desk squeaking. Lots of extraneous noise comes in when you're moving around too much. Number 5 might be one that surprises you, and that is talking directly into your microphone. This is especially bad with condenser microphones, which is what the microphone I use is. The Neumann TLM-103 is a cardioid condenser microphone. And speaking directly into the microphone, this might sound counterintuitive if you're a beginner, but that's actually a mistake, and I'll explain more about that later. Number 6, handling noise. This is bumping or adjusting the mic while speaking. You probably heard a lot of it when I was moving the boom arm around. Anytime you touch it, it's going to make noise. If you're a public speaker with a handheld microphone and you're moving it around a lot, it's making a lot of really distracting noise. And finally, mistake number 7, not using a pop filter or windscreen, because even the best speakers, even the best voice actors, even the best podcasters need a pop filter or windscreen just to help clean up your sound and help you avoid the wind noise, the air noise coming out of your mouth, and those dreaded plosive P pops and S hisses. So we've covered what not to do. Now, how do you fix it? Well, I'm going to give you the basics of the right way to use a microphone, and I'm going to break it into some general tips for everyone, as well as tips specifically for voice actors, tips for podcasters, and tips for public speakers, because each of those different performance instances really does have some nuances to it when it comes to using a microphone. So let's start with the general rule of thumb. You want to keep your microphone 6 to 10 inches away from your mouth. And you see, that's about what I have here. Between the microphone and my mouth, I'm probably about 8 inches away. The setup that I'm using right here in this video is not exactly how I position the microphone, my chair, and myself when I'm doing actual voiceover recording. This setup is obviously set up to record a YouTube video, but I'm still practicing general good microphone technique. Just want to make that caveat in case what I say doesn't exactly match what you see me doing in this video. Next, you want to make sure that you are actually positioned at a slight angle, or you can call it off axis. And that's how you really avoid plosives. You remember when I was talking about the common mistakes, I said that it might be counterintuitive to hear, but a mistake that we commonly see, especially beginners make, is speaking directly into the microphone. In general, speaking directly into the microphone puts you at a higher risk for air noise, wind noise, and those plosives. And so you want to make sure that you're actually at a slight angle. As you can see here for me, I'm not speaking directly into the microphone, I'm speaking across it. So your microphone is designed to amplify your voice and amplify the sound that moves across it, not just in it. So by positioning yourself in a way that you're actually speaking past the microphone, it can pick up all of the sounds of your voice, but it's missing all of the wind and the air that you're forcing out of your mouth. So it's missing those P pops and S hisses and all of the extra air that comes when you're just generally speaking. Third, consistent posture equals consistent tone. And this is where I always advocate for a really good investment in a comfortable, ergonomically correct chair to sit in if you are preferring to sit to record your podcast or your voiceover work, because your posture needs to be supported, because good posture means good breath support, and you need that as a speaking professional. But it also will help you maintain a consistent posture so that you're not moving around a lot and changing your positioning. You just want to sit and be comfortable and supported. So now, specifically for voice actors, sound quality is what matters most to you because your clients are paying for the best sound that you can possibly give them. You want to make sure to set your mic height to keep your head level so that you don't lean. Now, this is an instance where I'm not doing it properly here for this video. If I were recording voiceover, and I apologize, this will make some noise, I would have the microphone up at head level so that I don't have to lean, so that I can just read my script and speak without having to lean or reach. If I were doing voiceover and I constantly had to lean over like this, or if it was suspended and I was leaning up like this, not only does it change the sound of your voice, but it also strains your breath support. And so if you're hunched over, your lungs can't expand as much as they should be able to give you good breath support. And if you're leaning and stretching, you're also actually reducing the amount of space that your lungs have to expand. And so you want to be sure that your microphone is positioned at head height so that you can just sit naturally and speak. And finally, as I mentioned, use a pop filter. Use it, use it, use it. You need a pop filter. Even speaking off axis, you still need a pop filter. Now, I actually use a Stedman ProScreen XL filter, which is one that I really love. I upgraded to this a number of years ago. A lot of times you'll see those softer wind screens or covers. I really like this one because it diffuses the air really efficiently and it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. And if you'd like to check it out, I'll leave a link for it down in the description. In fact, if you'd like my latest recommendations for all of my home studio recording gear, then you're going to want to check out this video right up here. It's on one of these corners, which is a recent video I put out with all of my gear suggestions from budget picks to high-end picks for any kind of budget or any kind of experience level. My latest gear picks, a lot of which are the things that I use right here in my studio. Click the card, or I'll also leave a link for that down in the description for you to check that out. Now, podcasters, here is something that I want you to consider. I did mention one of the mistakes is speaking too closely to the microphone. Sometimes you actually do want to bring the microphone closer if you're wanting to create more personal sound. Because when you bring the microphone closer, and I'm going to go ahead and do it, you're naturally going to drop the volume of your voice, and you're going to drop how much you're projecting. Now, if you're a podcaster who is conveying a message of something that's calming or really conversational or casual, this might be a style that you want to use that makes it sound really kind of soothing and relaxing, and just like you're talking to a friend. If you're a voice actor, sometimes you'll have a client who's doing a project that wants this kind of softer sound, and the best way to do that is by bringing the microphone much closer to you so that you drop how much you're projecting, and it takes kind of that harshness out of your voice. So for podcasters, I do say, decide for yourself what your best mic distance is going to be depending on the feeling or the vibe that you want your listeners and your audience to get from your message. Just be careful. Most podcast audiences listen to podcasts with headphones on. So you have to be super sensitive to mouth noise. If your mouth gets dry, if your lips smack, if you breathe really heavily, those things can be really off-putting for someone sitting and listening to a lengthy podcast, and they start hearing that and not so much what you're saying. So you want to be sure to have a good glass of water available. Again, watching how close you are to the microphone. Make sure that you are monitoring your audio in real time. As you're recording, have a pair of headphones on, and always use over-the-ear headphones like this, not earbuds. You really want to hear every single nuance in your recording so that you hear exactly the same thing that your listeners or clients will hear. These here, I personally use the Sennheiser HD280 Pro studio headphones. They're really, really good. They're really comfortable. Again, if you'd like to check those out, I have a link down in the description, or that video I talked about earlier with all of my latest gear recommendations. You can learn more about those. Now, if you're a public speaker, here's my tips for you. I want you to learn to work the mic. What does that mean? Well, obviously, if you are making a very strong, quiet statement, you're going to pull the microphone a little closer to you. When you're laughing or projecting or really getting that motivational part of your speech together, or bringing the energy, then you need to move the microphone farther away from you so that you don't have distortion or feedback, things like that. If you're using a handheld microphone for public speaking, try to avoid finger tapping on it. That noise is going to come through to the whole audience. Try to avoid shuffling it back and forth between your hands too much. It's a visual distraction because it looks like you're nervous and it creates noise. And don't get lazy with it. Don't hold it down near your belly button. Make sure you're holding it, diaphragm height. Again, that's 6 to 10 inches away from your mouth. My biggest tip for public speakers and their mic technique is to practice with the mic that you're going to use. And if possible, if this is something you do pretty often, public speaking gigs, buy your own microphone, whether it's a wired handheld mic or it's a wireless lavalier microphone. Buy your own microphone that you can then plug into the system with the audio engineer at each venue that you go to. Because every microphone acts differently, works differently, sounds differently, and every venue that you're in, the space that you're speaking in, your voice over the loudspeaker system is going to sound different. If you can get really comfortable with your own mic setup, then it's one less thing that you need to worry about when you go for a speaking engagement. So take your own microphone and don't just do a quick mic check. Request that you have some time, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to actually run through parts of your speech with your microphone hooked up to the sound system, so that you can really get a good feel of it before your performance. All of that helps you get more comfortable and confident behind the microphone so that you can go and deliver a terrific speaking engagement. Okay, so how do you train yourself to make good mic habits automatic? I promised that I was going to give you 4 easy ways to practice your mic technique so that it becomes second nature, and that's what we're going to do right now. The first is going to be something you probably did as a kid, and that's going to be have a pretend microphone. I call this the pencil test. And I want you to practice reading your voiceover script or your podcasting bullet points or your public speech that you're about to make. I want you to practice it by keeping a consistent distance away from a pencil held in front of your mouth while you're reading it aloud. This will help you get used to the idea of there being something in the same place that you are, the same distance away from you all the time. Particularly beginners, this gets a little distracting at first when there's constantly this something right in front of your face. You need to get comfortable with it being there so that it basically becomes invisible. Next, I also want you to try the head tilt drill. And this is that slight angling of your mouth on your microphone to avoid direct plosives, where you go off axis. Now, there is such a thing as too much here. You don't want to go too far away on the angling so that you're actually speaking away from the microphone. And again, you don't want to speak directly into it where every pop is going to pop. So find your sweet spot. Determine, do you want your microphone to the left of you, to the right of you, or directly in front of you? And based off of that, where should your chair be positioned so that your body is facing in a comfortable way? And then which side of the microphone do you want your head to be on? For me, it's like muscle memory. My microphone is always on my left. I sit basically square to my computer, and I'm always have my head angled about 45 degrees to the right of my microphone. That's just now intuitive. I don't even think about it. That is where my microphone is comfortable for me. So you want to find your sweet spot. Third, record and listen. I want you to take about 30 to 60 seconds of script, and I want you to read it a few different ways. I want you to read it with your microphone 6 to 10 inches away from your mouth. I want you to read it with your microphone pushed farther away from you. And I want you to read it again a third time with the mic really close to you. And then I want you to listen to it back. And I want you to hear not only the negatives, but the positives, because sometimes you do want to create those effects. And so if you do that a number of times, you're going to figure out the best distance for your voice and for your situation of what you want to record, but you're also going to figure out how to make the microphone work for you and the things that you want it to do. And you're going to learn what to avoid. And you're going to hear for yourself how the different positioning can negatively impact your sound as well. And then, of course, finally, I want you to practice how you are going to literally physically approach the microphone every time. I told you how I sit every single time. Whether you sit or you stand when you're using a microphone, you want to practice doing it in the same position every single time. Keep your posture consistent, and if your posture is consistent, then the sound of your voice is going to be consistent. This is specifically for you voice actors out there. You could have a client that comes back to you in 2 weeks after you finish a job, or 2 months, or even 2 years, and they have a revision that they want to make, just a couple of lines that they need to tweak. Well, they expect that the work that they get back from you now is going to sound exactly like it did when you did the original work for them. And there's a good chance that if you don't have a consistent setup in your room space, in how you position yourself with your microphone, the posture that you use, that it's not going to quite sound exactly the same. And that's going to be a negative for your client. But if your client comes back to you 2-3 months later and you offer them a couple of sentences of edits and it sounds seamless, it sounds exactly the same as it did when they came to you a few months ago, that's going to wow them. And they're going to say, this person is a professional. They have a professional setup. We'll be back to do more work with them. So try to take 10 minutes or so a couple of times a week to do these exercises. And pretty soon you're going to be so comfortable with your microphone. You're not even going to have to think about how you're using it. It's just going to be second nature. And with these tips, you are really on your way to sounding polished, professional, and most importantly, confident. But here's the truth. Great mic technique is only part of the equation. Your mic does only capture what you give it. So you need to give a really solid vocal performance. And if your speech is a little muddy or your words aren't crisp, even the best setup and the best mic technique is not going to save your performance. So if you want to take your sound to the next level, the next step is to train your mouth, not just your mic. And in this next video right here, I'm going to walk you through 6 simple but powerful articulation exercises that are going to help you speak more clearly, sound more confident, and land your message every single time. I'll see you over there.